X, juvenile delinquent, yes.
And welcome to our first edition of the D6 Sports Network podcast. I'm your host, Dan DeFrancis, and I'm here joined with my partners. Guys, say hi. We have Brad Barbin here.
Good evening, local sports fans. At this point, it makes sense to give a quick shout out to our sponsors.
We have the always trustworthy Haven Lounge located on Langhorne Avenue.
Liquidated, huh?
And we also have Clark's Corner Store located in Westmont across from Westmont Middle School.
Jim, say hello to the fans.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here and talk some sports.
Now, guys, we wanted to first talk about what our company is all about for you guys as local sports fans and just local Johnstown advocates. What we're really about is, I think if we really could put it down in a nutshell, in one sentence, it would be about kind of combining the past sports heritage in our town and in our area, the West Central Pennsylvania area, and kind of really combining that with present day and all that, we're still left with present day. It's obvious that, this area has seen its ups and downs, but we are really trying to view everything that we cover in the most positive light to kind of give some rekindled passion into the area. So if you wanted to hear my take on it, I think that's what that would be. And guys, you guys have anything else to add to that?
I think the project is an innovative approach not many people are trying to do. What we're trying to do here at the D6 Sports Network is provide coverage for local sports that you don't see everywhere else. We're trying to get more exposure for our athletes.
I think that's a valuable point. For example, one of the major stories going on in sports right now, as you both know, is a local Johnstown Christian coach was arrested recently for offering money and gobcakes to one of their recruits. Now that's not something you see in the newspaper every day, so we want to shed light on some topics like that.
Where was he from?
Johnstown Christian, a big tennis recruit. You didn't see this in the news?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, well, it's big stuff, and it's catching like wildfire. And I think the problem that we have in our community is not enough resources to meet kind of the demand for sports that we have here.
Yeah.
And so that's the void we're trying to fill, trying to do everything we can to put as much spotlight on local sports.
I agree with you. Just in the time that we've started here these past few months, it's amazing kind of like how much stuff is out there. Not only the bad, but there's so much good stuff out there. So yeah, like I said, we're trying to view these in positive lights and take it from there.
And along those lines, it's amazing how much things stay the same. I think we just covered the Laurel Highlands baseball championship, and it's no surprise to anyone that Somerset wins again. It's like, it's a real shocker.
Yeah, that was, tell you, that game, though, that was great being up there. Jim, I know you were up there as well. We were covering that, and that was awesome, that sort of atmosphere, especially like Brad said, like Somerset it has such an established tradition in their community and, at large in the Laurel Highlands. What did you think of that?
The game lived up to its expectations. It was dubbed as the de facto Laurel Highlands championship, the two best teams playing. They still have games this week, but they both came in with one loss each in the conference. And, Somerset, they have a great facility, great fans. McCourt traveled well down there. It was everything the game was supposed to be. Both teams have a very good shot at advancing to the single A and triple A championships in the district. And not only in the district, but in the state. Both teams are well equipped to make a far run. So it's fun to see those two teams play against each other, in a playoff atmosphere, but they won't see each other in the playoffs with the different classifications.
So how does Somerset do it? Do they got corks in their bat? Do they have roids in their cows? What are they doing so well that they are able to win this thing every year?
It's hard to explain, but it's the same thing like how is Forest Hill is just consistently good at football. There's just some areas that are meant for other sports, and Somerset's sport is baseball. They take it very seriously. They have a great Legion program, well-dedicated baseball area.
Yeah, you could definitely tell that just of how cemented the program was in the community, because in the back of their dugout, or the backstop at their stadium, it shows every player who played at Somerset High School and now and where they went to high school. This is where they went to college and then in the pros. Starting back in the mid-'70s, they have players on there. So I think that really helps kind of like bring the fans back if you have that kind of thing in the community?
Now, it's been suggested that Somerset uses sometimes reverse polarized magnets in their pitching balls to make it harder for the opponents to hit. It's also been rumored that they've been importing Cubans for years and dyeing their skin white like Michael Jackson. Now, will these allegations stick? The only time will tell. I think it's a giant rumor created to cause controversy and thereby drive media traffic. But who knows?
And that's what I thought before we went to the game. But, we saw that one kid standing there in the dugout. No, I'm just kidding, guys.
Moving on. What else we got in sports these days?
Well, let's stick with baseball. And, D6 Sports Network, we've been able to cover a few games here and there. We're averaging about once a week right now. And, looking forward to getting into the playoffs and stuff. But, Jim, I know you've been to a lot of games. And, Brad, if you want to chime in, too, if you've seen anything, some of the best teams, best player, you definitely want to cover that. And then also give a little preview for the playoffs here. I know, Jim, you have some stuff. So I'll start off. And I wanted to touch on Altoona. And I really thought that they were all around impressive. We saw them up at the Curve Classic. They don't play a lot of teams from the Johnstown area. Obviously, a big Quad A school, even for Pennsylvania. And, the football program is obviously slacking. We'll see when Franco comes in, but that's a different story here later. But, yeah, Altoona really, really impressed me. They're probably, I'd put them there ahead of Somerset, Hollidaysburg, and McCourt. They're all right there, but one player, did you really play that? One player, that was good. One player that really impressed me was Christian Helsel, the shortstop for Altoona. We picked him as our tournament MVP, and I mean he was having just diving for balls in the hole in between short and third, and just making throws on his knees, throwing guys out. So I think that he's hopefully getting some looks, see where he's going from there.
Actually, Dan, I do believe he is going Division I, and he's going to the University of Mississippi in the SEC. So that's pretty big time to have a SEC caliber shortstop playing in Western Pennsylvania, and it carries on the tradition recently of local baseball players going to the D1 level. I know Mount Union had a pitcher last year, I believe Godling. I think he went to Clemson. Then, of course, you have Colin Harrington, who is playing for the University of Virginia, and Georgie Roberts, who's doing big things out in Kent State. So
I didn't know he was out there.
We have a good area right now for baseball. It's improving, and it's just having schools like that in the area can only help the future athletes in our area.
How about Georgie Roberts? I remember when he was 5 foot nothing about till the age of 18, and then what happened to him? He just got all jacked up for Triple ABA. He must be on that Somerset diet.
Yeah, what's his relation to Rick Roberts, the guy that runs the ERA? Are they related anywhere?
That's his older brother,
okay,
and he played for the Dodgers. I actually got to play on Colt League team with those guys. They're really good people.
Good, yeah. They want us to come up and do I offered to do it for them, kind of do a little little mini coverage on what they're doing up there. I know they're doing some big things not only in Johnstown, but are they up in Altoona or Evansburg now too? I think they're
ERA.
I think the ERA.
Yeah, I think there's a big
thing.
They might have one out and out there.
For the people who don't know.
ERA is more or less just a baseball complex. They have summer travel teams. They get kids exposure, but at the end of the day, it's just you're getting teaching from professional players like Rick Roberts himself. So if you're looking to improve your pitching and all that, he's a great person to talk to. So it's it's a good facility. It's good for the area. Not many places around the area have stuff like that.
Well, that's terrific. So I thought, at this point, this is our first podcast, and I thought we might talk a little bit about what we're trying to do. And so baseball season for us has been kind of an experimental phase to figure out, what is the D6 network and, what is it going to be. So a little backstory, we started off as a collection of old football films, game films, put them in one place, and started the D6 Sports Network. So, we thought the next logical step in this process is turning into broadcasting, doing some things like podcasts. We'd like to actually do some live coverage of games. Mm-hmm. And so baseball season for us has been, a time to experiment, a time to grow. You guys have been on the ground. Can you tell us a little about what you've learned and kind of how we've grown throughout the baseball season leading into football?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, first, just the thing that really strikes me right away, just from, like Brad said, from us being on the ground every day, is just really the amount of like impromptu things that you're gonna encounter. We encounter so much stuff, but at the same time, like so many like obstacles, but at the same time, that is like leading us into a lot of these like ideas that we have now, and like especially that's going to come into effect for football. Like we're kind of really perfecting that now with the baseball, and one of those things is the like resources at the game. Like you're not always going to have somewhere to plug in your camera. You're not always going to have, some, like the best angle to shoot out. So it's really about like what I have liked about it being on the ground is just how every place offers you something different, and I think that's something kind of cool that each place that you go to you could kind of connect with, and so like you'll probably hopefully if you guys are regulars watching our updated content every week with our game coverage, you're gonna see it's like kind of like different mood in each highlight clip, like judging on like the game, the town, really what's like involved in say like we were out in Boswell. What makes Boswell different from another place in Somerset County was, Somerset we were at. Like, what makes those two places different? And I think that that's one of the things that I have kind of learned to be able to cover. How about you, Jim? Have you?
Well, I think that the baseball process for us has been it's been a learning curve because we're trying to hone our craft. We're trying to get the best possible product out there. And I think to date we're doing a good job, but we want to make it better. We want to know what we're trying to do and what the people want to see. So, it's been a great experience to interact with the fans and the people, and to see the people and respond to us and embrace us and let us into their town, let us into their game, let us talk to their kids and to their coaches, and we're on the field, we're all over the place, and people have been really supportive of us, and I think it's been a good experience, and I think it's only going to get better.
So before we hop into football, because I know we want to talk about that, I think one of the things that Dan mentioned was just the richness of all the different voices around, and we want to keep this on the down low a little bit for now, but we're working on building a system. The vision is so that all types of people from around the area can contribute. In their way, in their unique, fashion, easily to one D6 sports network that will be by the people and for the people. So that's where we want to go with this.
Brad, do you want to? You're pretty much in charge in that lead team here with kind of developing our user interface and stuff. Do you want to explain anything of that? Or we don't have to go into it too far right now, since we don't have that much developed, but kind of like what will the like a user that comes to our site who wants to contribute with coverage and stuff, what will he be able to do on the site?
Sure. So if you could think of it like a marriage of ESPN for local sports and Facebook, or Bleacher Coaches for some of you local guys, where all the content is user generated, and so we want to figure out how to balance that and how to marry those two things as best we can to create a sports network that's going to be strictly local. You're never going to, there's ESPN Boston, ESPN LA, there's never going to be an ESPN Johnstown, Altoona, or Somerset. That's just a fact. And so what we're trying to do is fill that void.
Absolutely. I like that a lot.
All right, let's enough about us. Let's talk about the sports season coming up. Football season, a favorite.
Everyone's favorite.
Among some circles.
Yes.
So Jim, what's the big stories in football season coming up?
Well, of course, you got to look at Tyrone, the defending AA Western champions. They will enter the season without their quarterback, Steve Franco, and their coach, John Franco. It's a little uncharted waters. Coach Franco led them to a state championship in 1999 and led them back this past season. So he moves on Altoona. So how does that team respond?
So, Jim, let me ask you a question. Why does Franco, up after all these seasons, go back to Altoona?
That's a question you'd have to ask him, but, maybe the challenge
Have you heard anything?
You want me to take that?
I don't, you know the story more than I.
Yeah, well, just whenever when was it, in like February or whatever, and I was living out in Arizona and got to obviously read the Mirror and the Trib, here and there, and it was really in that phase, out there, Tyrone had that tough state championship loss. A lot of things just didn't go their way. I really don't think that they were as bad as Lancaster Catholic, but every year you kind of heard like, is this the year that Franco leaves and stuff, and it came out, I'm not sure if it was this year or the year before, that it was just a lot. There was a lot of conflict between like driving back and forth from Altoona and Tyrone, and he wasn't able to get a full-time position in Tyrone where he moved to live. Like, he's been there for over a decade in Tyrone.
So his kids play at Tyrone, correct? So I'd imagine that he lives in Tyrone in order for his kids to go there. How is it a pain in his ass to drive back to Altoona if he's living in Tyrone? I don't really understand.
Like, he was working at Tyrone.
That's a horse.
Or he was working at Altoona.
Oh, right.
Obviously, he was doing. I'm not even sure exactly what his job is up there at Altoona High School, but he was obviously getting paid a lot better working in Altoona than what Tyrone was offering, some sort of part-time job. So
I know that's got to hurt some fans in Tyrone.
Yeah,
some other coaching changes. Sponsky leaves Bishop Carroll, replaced by a relatively unknown guy named Greg Snyder. A BC alum, Snyder is an athletic director at Guilfoyle leading up to this job. In a recent press release, he had this to say: "I used to think that winning was the only important thing, but since accepting the job at Bishop Carroll, I've realized that collecting a paycheck and keeping the administration happy are just as important." Craig Sponsky was unavailable for comment. Jim, your thoughts on the coaching change at Bishop Carroll and where this leaves their program?
Well, the thing with Bishop Carroll is the controversy that was sparked in the offseason was, would the school keep its athletic program altogether? A lot of the football program and the athletic program, they owe a great deal to Craig Sponsky. So, he leaves, and, now people aren't sure if the school's going to function without athletics. It's shrinking enrollment up there, so they're going to have a lot of problems in the coming years. So Greg Snyder has a big project on his hands.
Greg Snyder is supposed to also be the athletic director. Is he, what is he going to do if there is no athletic program?
Well,
is he taking a risk here?
The school, as of now, has pledged to its current students and parents that they will continue with athletics. But with that kind of situation up in the air, how many kids feel comfortable there? Because athletics are a big part of high school.
Right, and I think we've seen the Blacklick kids start to head back to Blacklick over the last couple of years. Those kids have been instrumental in pushing the program forward, just as Sponsky has over the years.
And looking at, there's been guys from Blacklick I think Forcellini was from Blacklick. I think Koenig was from Blacklick as well, or from that school district. Some big linemen, yeah. And that people can say what they want to say about all that recruiting and stuff, but it's like, really, is one person going to make a difference? And is it unfair? Like,
is two people going to make a difference?
Is
three?
It? I don't know. I'm asking.
Or, I guess would be a proper verb conjugation there.
Or, yeah. That's tough, guys. Like that, and especially now, you're seeing like these cyber schools and these charter schools. And people need to start understanding that it's about money. Like, it's not, like schools are run as like private institutions. It's all money based. Like, it's business. Like, it's not something that you should just be like all like mad about. Like, really, when there's a lot of public
don't be all mad about it.
Don't. You listener out there, don't be mad about it. Like, it's making our area better at sports, regardless of what's. And there isn't this face-to-face recruiting jargon that you'll hear everywhere. Like, I know that for a fact. So hopefully, we don't hear too much crap about that anymore. But yeah, continue, Brad, with football.
All right. So along those lines, I guess the big story to me is that there's no D1 prospects, at least on my radar, going into next year's season. Do we expect anyone to hop on the radar, and kind of why the fall off after so many years of placing at least one or two kids at a D1 level locally?
Well, Brad, I think that's the landscape of football these days. You know, we just came off a year where we sent Javon Simon to Army, Alquan Williams to Temple, Zach Rugg to Connecticut, you know, on and on, Steve Franco to Akron. So, you know, you're going to have your ups and downs. But, you know, looking ahead to this year, you got to look at the Penns Manor quarterback, Danny Ferentz. Will he get an offer, won't he? At the very least, he will be playing college football. Just what level will it be on? He's a 4-year starter. He's a very well-connected kid with his father's job in football, so you have to think he's going to get a look somewhere to play.
Have you seen him play?
I have seen him play.
What do you think about him?
He's very, you know, he reminds me a lot of Javon Simon this past year. He can really get out and run. He's a very athletic kid. He's, you know, he carried Penns Manor to the Final Four berth they were in last year, so it's going to be fun to see how he can respond this season.
Well, Javon Simon is one of those kids that could be playing any position at the next level. Do you see the same for the Penns Manor kid?
I would say, because, you know, looking at the next level, teams are looking for kids with, you know, perfected passing skills and all that. You know, Javon did a great job this past year, and Ferentz just does a nice job, but their biggest asset, and it's, you know, no secret, they can run. They can make plays. They can make you miss. And, you know, you have to respect their running game. So you look at a guy like Danny Ferentz, could he end up at safety? You know, it all depends. I don't know what kind of frame he has exactly, but, you know, you can expect probably a position change.
Speaking of, you know, quarterbacks and expectations coming out of high school, I know Travis Rearick, quarterback from Forest Hills a few years back, went to Mercyhurst. He rode the bench his first couple years, and then kind of came in under the radar up there. But he just exploded when he got in there. He led him to a victory over Cal when Cal was, you know, one of the top teams of the nation. He went on to, you know, I don't have the stats in front of me, passed for thousands of yards, and you know, just completely exceed expectations. So I think, you know, there is hope for the Johnstown pure passing quarterback. At the college level, you know, evidenced by guys like Travis Rearick.
I think that can also be attributed to Coach Don Bailey, who has produced quarterback after quarterback up in Sidman. I mean, how many? It seems like almost every year they have a kid going to play quarterback at the college level. You know, starting with his son Brandon, you know, the whole way up to like a Lowick, guys like that. You know, Rearick was a good quarterback. You know, it was very evident to see.
I saw both of those guys on Easter. They both dated Busey girls, and they were having dinner up at the Wimber Country Club with the Buseys, two quarterbacks and some
Are you
Buseys.
serious?
Yeah, I thought it was.
That is fun.
I got a kick out of it. So I guess that's another big story. Speaking of Dombo, is how long do we expect him to be around, and you know, who do we see as a replacement? Is a guy like Justin Myers, who's had relatively little success up at Cambria Heights? You know, is it someone like Brandon Bailey, who, you know, has just been through the fire at Wimber and now seems to be
Or Richland.
at Richland and now seems to be in a comfortable position?
Yeah.
Is it someone internally who's been on the staff for a couple of years, or is it just Don until infinity?
Yeah, you know, it seems like it is going to be a little Don Infinity till infinity action, just because, like, you know, you hear every year, and just like it was like Joe Paul, you kind of hear every year he's out, but he comes back every year and he just seems like nothing changes. You know, we don't know the ins and the outs of the program,
You know, what goes on a daily basis up at Forest Hills, but it just seems like kind of he's always in control up there, and he's not like that Joe Pa having to ride around in the golf cart, you know. All love to Penn State, but it just seems like Don is kind of an immovable object up there. I don't know. Like if when the change does inevitably happen, you know.
And what a great guy too. I had a chance to meet him over the last year.
Mm-hmm.
What a great individual.
Is he? Hopefully we get to talk to him this year. Yeah.
So, Jim, what else is a big story in football? Tell me who the teams to beat are.
You know, you look at Single A, and you know, you always have your usual suspects. Bishop McCourt, they're back. You know, they lost a lot, but they have, you know, good team. Always have a good team.
Last year, they put McCourt in there first, huh?
We're getting to the top dogs.
McCourt. Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah, big thing with McCourt last year was depth. You know, they ran out of players towards the end. Seemingly, it seems like they'll have a stronger stronger core of guys. And of course you have Bellwood Annis with legendary coach John Hayes. Seems like he's another Don Bailey. He's been over there forever, and his team's always in it. But I like Penn's Manor. I've seen Danny Ferentz play. They've had a great playoff experience this past year. They made it to the Final Four, won a state playoff game. This team is poised for another run, and it's their championship to lose in single A, I would say.
How about what is the landscape looking like after? Is there going to be another Southern Columbia? Obviously, Clareton's going to be awesome this year, but if Penn's Manor does make it out, have you heard of anybody that's looking tough in the East?
Well, you always got to watch for Southern Columbia, and I do believe Southern Columbia and Clareton are going to team up for a non-conference game this year. That was rumored to happen. Not sure if it will.
Wow.
But Southern Columbia wouldn't schedule Clareton if they weren't confident. So, they're a great program. They won 4 straight state championships earlier. They're a top-notch program, so you're always going to have to watch out for them, and it's still Clareton's championship to lose overall.
Let's pass to Double A. Does Richland now suck without John Rizzo? Do they get away from the power offense that's worked for them so well and return to the passing offense that traditionally has been attempted unsuccessfully? Jim?
A lot of people would be down on Richland losing John Rizzo, but I am the complete opposite. I think they have a very good chance to win Double A, and with Tyrone being down a little bit, a little uncertainty over there. Forest Hills, they lost a lot, so, what does that leave you? It leaves you with Richland. They have their quarterback back, Matt Schaefer, who did a nice job last year as a sophomore, and they have, I would say the best receiver in the area, and he'll be back. So, Richland, they will go back to the traditional Brandon Bailey offense, the one under Pecora and Ramirez. They're going to spread the ball around. It was pretty easy for them to, switch things around with a guy like John Rizzo. How can't you,
That's a great point, Jim. Yeah. I think that's just one of those once-in-a-generation players at Richland. The kid is a freak. He's a heavyweight
huge
wrestling champion, much less weight than a lot of the guys, a lot fat, just as fast. I watched his highlight film, and, despite the fact that he's a heavyweight champion wrestler, the majority of his highlights are him running past and around people. It's unbelievable.
And these are like defensive backs that he's running through it. Even when he's going through the hole, he can definitely cut back. He could, I was really impressed with him.
So if you talk to the Richland community, the fullback position, especially at the college level, is something that's kind of over these last 10 years been weaned away. There's a more passing, pro-style spread offense. Proliferates college football. So I think the worry, or at least locally, is that, is there a spot on the field for John Rizzo to really show everyone what he's got? I think this could definitely be on defense, but I think we all agree that his real skill is on the offensive side of the ball. Will he be able to get his touches, or does he take a Hinoski role? And battle through it that way. Yeah. But I'm excited to see the kid's career unfold. He just shares all type of promise.
Yeah, I agree. If I can comment on that real quick, just talking to some people up at Richland, just because John doesn't have any clue, or maybe he has a clue, but he doesn't really have anything solidified as far as future
anything
plans.
Official.
Right, nothing official. And John, if you're listening to this, please contact us, and we will do a little story on your college of choice. But Pitt has talked to him about coming in I think maybe a possible gray shirt, and that would be in a fullback position like a high Noski. But then he's also gotten looks like Georgia Southern, Georgia Tech, really hitting that triple option. Yeah, well maybe in another lifetime that will be the case. He's gotten looks as far as that fullback triple option. You're in the triple option, you're getting to run the ball a lot, so I think he could really excel in something like that.
Right, I know his brother Frank played football at Navy for a while. I'd love to see him in that type of offense, but who knows?
Yeah.
Well, the thing with John is you won 3 state championships as a wrestler. There always has to be doors opening that way, too, so he could be playing, he could be doing some big-time wrestling.
Things aren't too bad for John Rizzo.
He's doing okay for himself.
Yeah. Congrats, buddy, on your 3 straight golds. That's pretty awesome. Okay, so our next topic, still related with football, because we know how you guys love the gridiron, the old pigskin. Fire that ball, baby.
Woo! Woo!
nostalgia series. Check it out, D6SportsNetwork.com. Anyways, what was the one thing that really, Jim, you were in the area for the football season. What caught your eye? Just as far as if you had to kind of like view the whole D6 area as, like one kind of like football community, like what really caught your eye?
I think the biggest things that, positive things in the area were the Division I players. It's good for the area. Like I was talking about it with baseball earlier. It's never a bad thing for a player to go to the D1 because that always keeps college coaches coming back. You noticed Pitt for many years, they were going from Bishop McCourt to Johnstown searching for players, guys like LaRod Stevens, Antoine Reed, So Pitt coaches, they're aware of the area, and now, Army's going to be aware of the area with Jervon Simon. Temple has recruited here in the past. They just picked up Alquan Williams. So the exposure for the area is better. And of course, then you have a team like Tyrone making it to the state championship game. It's keeping people aware of football, that there actually is good football between Pittsburgh and Harrisburg, because it's always looked as like, we can beat the D6 team, but not so much anymore.
So we have, you touched on it, Antoine Reed signs with the Browns as a free agent and literally makes every player from Johnstown currently in the NFL look like a midget. Not that they didn't already. So he still has to make the team, but he's got a shot, and that's important. I think something you also talked about that worth mentioning is that you have players who kind of make it to the next level, like Mike Cruz, who don't necessarily finish, and myself actually, who don't play out their college career. Do you think that hurts the area when people don't finish their college career once they make it there?
That's a tough question. Got into a discussion with a friend about that the other week, and he kind of asked, he's like, what's with some of these players? Is it them getting burnt out? Is it, kind of what is that? But I think that overall, just in my opinion, that's really like a testament to the area, that the kids had so much success in football, or got the opportunity either through their own efforts or through schools coming in to look at them. I think that's inevitably good. Yeah, you might have some recruiting coaches who are established at their schools that are kind of weary on, some teams or some players after what they've seen in the past. But, I think overall that it's probably a good thing. How about you, Jim? What do you think?
Well, yeah, college football, it's constantly moving. There's always pieces to the puzzle being added and dropped. There's 85 scholarships in a Division I football team. So the recruiting class you bring in is, you're going to bring in 25 guys. Are all 25 guys going to graduate? Are all 25 guys going to be there in the end? You lose parts along the way. So it's just the nature of the game. I don't think it's any negative on our area just because we had a couple, because then you have to look at the guys that succeeded, guys like Andy Hawkins, guys like LaRod Stevens, who, set out their goals and they did it.
And even on a 1AA level, a guy like Scott Lewis, who actually has the second most career tackles in Division 1AA history. So that's just another shout out to my boy Scott. Just got a full-time coaching offer at Eastern New Mexico University.
Nice.
But that's huge for him. He's 22 years old and he's on the staff.
He stayed on after his GA?
He's thinking about it. He just got the offer, man. So we'll see what happens. But you couldn't be more excited for local guys, who are not only able to go give us a good name in college, but now come back and recruit the area if they so choose to do so.
Yeah, that is huge for sure. Make a little New Mexico, Pennsylvania pipeline, possibly.
The New Mexico pipeline.
You gotta love it. Rich.
The overground tunnel.
So, we really touched on a lot of, this year and the past few years, but kind of looking ahead. And guys, if, want to give your opinions on this, say you take over a program. It could be Westpac, it could be Heritage, it could be ICC, it could be Mid-Penn, it could be Whitfield. You pick your conference, but it has to be kind of like a mediocre team. And mediocre
meaning maybe even like a little bit below 500. What are you doing as a head coach or as an AD or as somebody that's really involved with the program, even a player? Like, what are you really going to push to get your team to the next level? And not only even a mediocre team, but maybe like look at like a Tyrone or look at a Richland, a Penns Manor, a McCourt. What, like these these big teams, State College, what do you have to do year in and year out to kind of take your program from that level to a Clarendon, to a Southern Columbia? Obviously, player development is huge, and even having good players to begin with is huge. But you see like Boise State, for instance, who they're starting to get more recruits nowadays, high level recruits. But when they started out, they didn't have the best guys in the group. Like, what would you guys do if you were in these positions of authority to improve your team?
Well, as a coach, there's two things that I would look to do to improve my program. And one, I think it starts with the lower ends of your program. You got to look, you want your middle school kids and your young kids, you want them to know what you're trying to do when they get to the varsity level. You don't want there to be, this is how we do it in 7th grade, but it's going to be completely different when you get to 9th grade. I think you want to bring the whole program together. I think football starts at the bottom, and any sport for that matter. You want to be on the same page, top to bottom, with your coaching staff, with your players, your future players. So I think that's that's a big thing, and I don't know if Brad has anything to chime in about that.
Well, I think that that's something that came out of European soccer. They have all these academies and development programs. They're bringing kids in. Started with the club Ajax in the Netherlands. They bring kids in early, get them familiar with the system, the fundamentals, the terminology. Well, that's a big thing. The other thing, you got to get kids to buy into something better, or something bigger, rather,
Definitely.
and that's something that we always had in McCourt in the off season. We had it at Omo's, running the hill. I mean, it's just you got to outwork your opponents. That's in football and in life, that's the only real way to succeed. Now, I have this theory that, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but when you have a limited talent resource pool and you want exposure, the way to get exposure is to play games on big scale. So to be in the state championship game, and Tyrone being there not only benefits them, but it benefits anyone who has game film against Tyrone. So I've always been a believer that all the best players should be in one spot, fighting for one starting job. You can if you get enough, you can play one way. And that's these St. Ed's, these St. Ignatius programs. And that's an opt-in thing. You can't force it. It kind of has to be Miami Heat conspiracy theory. Let's do this thing. Let's win this.
Right. A big thing about buying in. I have a little background in the football coaching world. I got to be a student assistant behind the scenes with like football operations at Ohio University, and then as an assistant coach at Notre Dame Prep High School in Scottsdale, Arizona. It would be like quad A to Pennsylvania standards. And really one thing that I was able to pick up at those two programs is how crucial, or let me rephrase that, is the ways that these coaches and programs enable their kids to buy in, or how they, kind of market their program and how they treat their players and their fans and their families to kind of have everybody buy in. And I think that's something really big. You can go through as a coach, or as a parent, you can kind of go through the motions in football, but really kind of like connecting with your players and stuff, I think that's like a huge key. You see Urban Meyer out there at Ohio State. Hate to keep talking about Ohio because it's not really my favorite state or anything, but
it's not mine either. I hate it. I hate Ohio. Ohio sucks.
Come on, let's go, PA. Get back on your horse here. We'll take them in the Big 33 or whatever. They probably don't even want to play us anymore, but it doesn't matter. It's neither for here or there. But the thing about Meyer, he knows everything about his players, and he was a grad assistant with Woody Hayes at Ohio State. Or no, was it Woody Hayes or Earl Bruce? I think it was. Their head coach made the GAs know everything about the players, and that's not just like they're not like a stat. You have to know their stats. You have to know everything about their lives, and kind of I think that's pretty established that that's what a head coach's job is, to really know
their players on like a deeper level. So I think that's something that also helps too. So I think that's that. I don't know, Jim, you already you chimed in on that one. What do we have next, guys?
Let's just keep going. We're on fire right now.
Yeah, we are doing good. This is great. Getting to talk about sports. What happened? Oh, the Pirates won today.
The Pirates did win.
What did?
Well, isn't that some stuff?
That is some news. Breaking news. You heard it here first. Probably not 'cause it's 11 p.m. already.
It's 11 o'clock.
Wow.
Weird.
Very weird.
That was strange. But yeah, Rod Barajas had a walk-off homer, 4-3. Buccos over the first place Nationals.
How did that happen?
And we're going to a commercial break, apparently. Be sure to visit our sponsors, though, where we are currently, Interstate Insurance Management in Johnstown, PA. Also, we have The Haven Lounge on Langhorne Avenue, and we have Clark's Corner Store, run by the fabulous Mrs. Ann Schrey.
Wow. And she makes the best food, doesn't she?
It is some good stuff up there. What do you guys like there?
I'm a partial to the chicken bacon ranch stromboli. The specials are great every week. They change on a regular basis. You can get on their Facebook and check that out. And the gobs, of course.
Well, Brad, you actually did their website, didn't you?
Oh, that's true, Dan. Thank you for the little plug there.
To be honest, I'm a big fan of the chicken fingers. I mean, it's an original, but it's delightful.
You know, I've always been partial to the subs. I think they have the best sub in town. You know, Tony's and M's. They're just looking up the Clarks.
Anyways, let's wrap this. I keep trying not to swear. Let's wrap this thing up.
Podcast is what we call it. Is
The
that
first
right?
annual podcast.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks for being with us for this first podcast.
Yeah.
I think Dan wanted to say something about our real passion for this thing, which is making Johnstown a better place, and we want to use the D6 Sports Network to help make that happen. So Dan, why don't you hit him with some knowledge on the community development side of things, and we'll get you out of here.
All right. Well, thanks, Marley. Well, like Johnstown, like we were saying, like that's the biggest thing for us is making it a better place, making it get more passionate, having people buy into things. And, I really think that that's great at just at the local sports level. But, for us and kind of our goals and our future visions, that's not really enough, Where the real changes in our city that, I myself want to eventually see occur is in like the more of like the urban redevelopment, like that whole kind of like downtown or even community development in general. Just having.
So tell people what you're talking about there, because
I know that's broad.
what you mean.
Yeah, I know that's broad. Well, let me get at you this way. We have some area businesses. We have like the Johnstown Development Authority here. So let's see here. I'll pull up their site. Johnstown Redevelopment Authority, and they were created in 1945 after World War II, when there was a lot of like blighted neighborhoods and stuff. But at that time, Johnstown was still booming, still doing good. But basically what they came in to do was just like a lot of like urban redevelopment, kind of like we have a great community, still a ton of people, the steel mills are still booming in the 40s and 50s, and they have taken on a bunch of projects even in today's day, and it's really kind of, and I think this goes along the lines of our vision here at D6 Sports Network, is just like preserving the past, and that cliche saying, what is it, like preserving the past and making the future or whatever.
Yeah, it's something like that, isn't it?
I think it is something like that, probably not, but and I mean they've done projects like the Greater Johnstown Regional Technology Park, Kernville Redevelopment Plaza. They redid Johnstown High School.
They're actually making a new water cleaning plant for all the Marcellus Shale water that can't be, cleaned. That was just announced. So that's
that is
180 jobs
isn't it?
in Johnstown
Yeah.
that are coming. So that's a pretty big deal coming from
for
the
sure.
Johnstown Redevelopment Authority.
Yeah. So I mean, there's certain products like that I would like to see us be involved in. My interests all have kind of like stemmed from like talking with relatives who like lived back in the heyday of Johnstown, and then this past spring I was able to read a few like history of Johnstown books, and really like we have a fascinating sort of historical culture around here. great ethnic vibe you get obviously in Cambria City, and you see a lot of those projects like Bottle Works and the Johnstown Discovery Centers there. You know, a lot of that stuff it's really like focused on like our ethnic past. But what I would really like to see is like, I think like if we ever got involved in something, and I've been in contact with a few businesses that do urban development endeavors to sit in with some meetings, but what I really want to push is kind of like finding ways that people like locals right now buy into Johnstown. Like it's basically exactly like football. Like how do you make people buy in? Like what makes, so if you're going to say like for football, like what makes buying in football practice? Like going your hardest, going to lifting every day, you know, attending meetings. What makes that cool? Because you'll see in like the big programs, like the successful programs, like I'm sure like for instance up at Tyrone, that is the cool thing to do, is like trying your hardest, working out, you know, that stuff. But what is going to make like urban redevelopment in Johnstown cool? Like in where I really want to focus it in on is marketing towards the people that are already in the area. Like we need those people to kind of stay and kind of create those strong roots. I've talked to various leaders around Johnstown so far already, and just spreading some of these ideas, brainstorming. And that's really where I think it starts from. There's been a lot of endeavors already that have really like kind of like touched on like our heritage and stuff, but really not connecting with the present and the future as much as I like to see happen. And really, I think urban redevelopment is not some like serious thing that or some impossible thing. It's something that it can be fun, it can be creative, and it can be like all encompassing. Everybody can be involved in it. So you know, hopefully here we have a few projects in the works. We're going to be covering Laura Beachy, who she was just in the Trib. The Trib did an article on her about, she's doing a Flight 93 memorial documentary, like a you know, a really like high-end documentary. What we'd like to do with D6 Sports Network is kind of like cover these young people like doing big things, you know, like Laura herself. I guess you could say us, like we're trying to, you know, just make the area better. So you guys, we'll see here in the future. Don't want to delve into that too much today, just because, you know, we don't have that much content.
Stop now.
Okay, you want me to keep going? All right.
No.
Preach.
I think, yeah, and I'll say it here, you know, on the rooftop, like shout it out loud. It's a song, I think. Like that's, like urban redevelopment in Johnstown is not some impossible thing. Like people say, oh, it's infested with drugs and all that shit. Crap, you know. But,
Edited.
yeah. Sorry. What I'm trying to say here is that it is possible in Johnstown.
Dan, if I may chime in on your topic here, is I think a big thing for Johnstown is to bring business back to Johnstown. You know, anything new that comes to our area, it automatically goes to Richland. Whereas, you know, there's less and less downtown. There's not a good place to go get something to eat downtown. There's not shopping. There is not anything. You know, we recently have got a hockey team back in town, but what is going to bring people there? You know, if you're at the game, where do you go?
And that's exactly, here's my point. Like you said, there really isn't too many places to go downtown, like for like a nightlife type scene, you know. But what you need is to have like sort of some like anchor. You need to establish an anchor somewhere. So like in our future plans, we want to have our office down there, and it's not going to be just some like white walled, you know, cubicle office. It's going to be like a place that you can come, hang out, discuss. Like discussion is, you know, leads to these ideas that can be put into form. So that's going to be like, we want to be like an anchor point in downtown Johnstown, being like that, you know, that place that is spurring, like kind of like a Silicon Valley of San Francisco.
Kind of taking what's good about sports, which is, you know, the camaraderie, the hard work, the dedication to a greater cause, and you know, extending that to the workforce and the community.
Right. Yeah. I think that really sums it up pretty well.
All right. So, fans. Listeners, townies, thank you for participating with us in this first of many podcasts. As with anything we do, we hope to greatly improve upon this going forward. and we say thank you so much. This is Brad Barbin, Dan Francis, and Jim Hammett signing out.
D6 Sports.